I love Arc Raiders. I generally think it's a great game, but there are a few things that could hold it back long term, and I'm saying that as someone who's put over 200 hours topside and wants the game to last. One of the biggest things is that the game doesn't really have a strong end game yet, but the core of the game, it's incredible. The looting, the PvP, the PvE, the proximity chat moments, that's what makes Arc Raiders feel special. It only works because it has both. If you take away PvP or PvE, it's just not the same game anymore. Like nothing feels more cinematic than when you're out looting resources, just trying to craft what you need, and suddenly you hear rockets going off in the distance, a flare pops, and you just know someone got obliterated. And the cool part is, you're a part of that experience, even though it didn't happen to you directly. That's the PvE side of it. But then on the flip side, you've got moments where there's constant gunfire, shotguns, SMGs, flares going off everywhere, people yelling, proximity chat going crazy. You can feel and hear the tension. That mix right there, fighting Arc, fighting other players, looting, the proximity chat, that's what makes this game feel different. But my biggest issue right now, and I think a lot of people feel the same way, is there's no real late game. And I know technically there is a late game system with expeditions, but I don't think it really solves the problem. From what I've seen, and even for myself, a lot of players don't feel motivated to go through with it because you're basically resetting a lot of your progress, blueprints, quests, things people don't want to lose or redo for a few permanent buffs they don't feel strong enough to justify. So instead of feeling like a rewarding endgame, it ends up feeling like starting over for not much. And for a lot of players, including me, that's just not something you really want to commit to. Once you get to a certain point, the loop doesn't really evolve. You're still looting, crafting, fighting players, fighting Arc, but there's nothing new to work towards. And I think a big part of that comes down to the loot. Because when the loot actually matters, that's when the game's at its best. If we're both in a raid and there's something valuable on the line, something we both want, now there's tension, now PvP happens naturally. But when the loot doesn't feel that important, you start getting into lobbies where people just load in to fight. And I think part of that comes down to how risk is distributed, because a lot of players are loading in with free kits, so they're not risking anything, but they can still gain everything. So now when you win fights, a lot of the time you're not even getting anything meaningful back, which that creates this weird loop where there's less incentive to bring in better gear, because why risk something valuable if most players aren't doing the same thing? When that happens, you're not really fighting over loot anymore, you're just fighting. Because now it just feels like you're running around, killing each other just like any other shooter. And that's not what makes Arc Raiders unique. I don't think I have all the answers, but I do think there needs to be something more on the progression side. Something that makes you want to keep coming back. I'm not saying the game needs permanent items or things you keep forever. This is an extraction shooter. That's not how it works. Even if you craft something from scratch, it's not really yours forever. It's just your turn with it. Eventually you're going to lose it. That's part of the game. But for that to work, the loot actually has to feel like it matters when you have it. There has to be something worth chasing, something that feels good to find, and something that actually stings when you lose it. Because if it doesn't, what are we even fighting over? For me, it's not even about keeping the item, it's about the experiences around it. The route to take, what you had to fight through to get it, and the moments it all could have gone wrong. Because at the end of the day, I love this game. I've had a lot of great moments playing it. That's why I'm even making this video, because I want it to last. And right now, I do worry about its longevity. Not because it's a bad game, but because without stronger late game progression, especially when it comes to loot, people eventually run out of reasons to keep playing. And when that happens, you don't just lose players, you lose the interactions that make the game feel alive. And once that's gone, it's really not the same game anymore. And that's the risk I see right now. Because even though the overall reception is still strong, the recent mixed reviews show that something's starting to slip. And I think this is the big part of it. This isn't a bad game, it's a great game that just needs something more to keep it that way.